Hi, my name is Julie Hoy, and I'm an assistant professor at the University of Michigan School of Information. And today I'll be presenting our work, High Risk, High Reward, Social Networking Online in Under-Resourced Communities. This work was done in partnership between the University of Michigan and the University of California, Santa Barbara. We have long known that expanding one's social network has been associated with greater access to resources and social support. Granovetter was the first to point out that weak ties can lead to bridging social capital, resources made available through social relationships. Much of the literature on understanding online connections have described how people use social networking sites to engage with existing ties, such as for friendship, maintenance, and help seeking. Since then, people have documented various reasons for why people connect with others online, like connecting with people for similar interests or common needs. However, much of this work has been performed in higher income settings, while less is known about how under-resourced populations decide to make new connections online and under what circumstances. Currently, much of the work on social networking online among marginalized groups has been analyzed in the context of online social support groups, such as connecting over stigmatized content or finding safe spaces for reciprocal disclosure. Unlike this prior work, which seeks to understand activity, especially in these groups, our goal was motivated by the broader question of how people from under-resourced communities choose to make new connections online, of which social support groups may just be one example. We hope to shed light on the risks and benefits individuals in under-resourced communities take into consideration when deciding whether or not to attempt network expansion online. To address this goal, we asked the following research questions. What factors influence whether members of under-resourced populations make new connections via social networking sites? And what are the perceived benefits and costs of online networking for individuals living in under-resourced neighborhoods? This work was initiated by UpTogether, an organization that serves historically undervalued communities. They approached us, the researchers, to better understand how their constituents, primarily residents of East Oakland, chose to develop meaningful relationships with each other online. Our team recruited interview participants from the UpTogether population to participate in a longitudinal study investigating how group engagement online and offline facilitates resource exchange and social support. Overall, we interviewed 36 participants. The majority were women, Black or African American, or Latinx, with a median personal income of less than $10K. In terms of their technology access, 15 owned a personal computer, while the rest did not have readily available access to a computer. Through grounded theory analysis, we identified 4 factors that influenced people's desire to connect with new people online, which I will review over the following slides. First, in terms of social support to cope with shared challenging experiences, one participant said, "Family members die, but we have to go on. We have to move on, and sometimes all it takes is a hug or a call, a check-in to make us be able to push forward from that day. I joined that group, this online group, on my own just to be able to give encouraging words to people who have lost someone close to them." This desire to meet new people seemed intertwined with needing to cope with traumatic experiences, which occurs more frequently in under-resourced communities. Because the participants lived in areas that many described as having a lot of crime, people wanted to be able to offer support to others who had been impacted by this violence. This participant explained that the group allowed them to reach out to others who might have experienced similar traumas in order to provide and seek comfort. Others were motivated to connect with others in order to seek advice for socioeconomic mobility and well-being. One participant who was starting a business said, "I had reached out to somebody because they were making something like doing bakeries and stuff. I don't bake, but I started doing this chocolate-covered strawberries. I just reached out like, hey, is it hard? Is there any tips you can give me for somebody who's starting off things like that?" Many participants were interested in building a business to achieve greater agency in their socioeconomic growth, which motivated their desire to connect with new people who might be able to provide advice. While people were motivated to give and receive support and advice, their ability to do so was tempered by their knowledge on how to connect with people. One participant said, "I'll try to make my profile public because right now my account is just friends and friends of friends. So I think if I make it public, people would be able to reach out." Rather than being proactive about making new connections directly, this person hoped that this passive approach to network development by just making their profile public would be sufficient. Various participants expressed discomfort over reaching out to someone specific without sufficient reasons or a prior connection. While a prior connection is a safe way to initiate conversation, research on social support or social capital development insists that building weak ties often requires connecting with people outside one's immediate network in order to access new benefits and resources. Finally, participants were all concerned about being scammed and limited their contact with new people for this reason. One person said, "I don't accept new people." They meant friends on Facebook and Instagram, etc. "I have little mistrust in my social network. Almost everyone is my family. I have photos of my daughters, my son, mine, and I don't like that everyone is watching things of my children." While social networking sites do have options to set levels of privacy for different friends, no participants mentioned using this feature. Instead, they chose to keep their profiles as private as possible if they were particularly concerned about safety, hoping that it would keep their family and identity more private and safe. We argue that these findings represent a double-edged sword of the internet for people in under-resourced, marginalized communities attempting to establish new connections. We propose this theoretical construct of high-risk, high-reward social networking as a lens for understanding how under-resourced and historically marginalized individuals approached using social networking sites for enhancing, bridging social capital. We believe that under-resourced individuals should not be hastily pushed to engage online just because of the perceived benefits, while ignoring the risks and socio-technical gaps that might bar them from potential future fruitful participation. Our findings show that those in under-resourced circumstances approach social networking online or any engagement with others with cautious optimism. And understanding how to facilitate that speed of and approach to engagement should not be ignored in the design of social networking sites. Therefore, we suggest the following design implications. First, we suggest providing guidance on how to connect, such as scaffolding the process of constructing introductory messages or facilitating goal setting around social networking steps. Second, we suggest developing offline pathways to building connections online. For example, platforms could commit to sponsoring offline community events held by trusted community organizations that could eventually lead to online engagement. Third, we suggest encouraging exchange of non-tangible social support. This could mean encouraging or rewarding social support activities related to emotional needs or well-being. And finally, we suggest facilitating proactive approaches to checking for scams and threats. So this could mean regularly teaching users best practices around detecting questionable behavior online, or allowing individuals who are particularly concerned about being scammed the option to subscribe to stricter security checks. Overall, we thank UpTogether for funding this research and for their collaboration as community partners. And most of all, we thank the participants for sharing their experiences with us. Thank you.